Hello, everyone. How are you doing? Good, thank you. Thanks for asking. Beautiful day out there. So, last seminar, the July seminar, we had Dr. Tom Olbrich, who was the presenter, surgeon at the Cleveland Clinic, correct? And so we usually spend about 5 to 10 minutes doing a reflection. We did discuss extensively some of the points in his presentation that were, I thought, extremely impactful. But let's talk a little bit about what you got out of Dr. Olbrich's seminar. Who wants to start? Yes, Vivian.
I like how he was completely honest about the balance between work and life for him, because then we have to see like how it does affect the rest of his life.
The work-life balance part. Yeah. Y'all remember the work-life balance part? And I think we did talk a little bit more that it's not only in the medical profession. The work-life balance part can get to you really in any career that you choose. So I was in sales and marketing. Mr. Sipek runs a company. He can tell you, Mr. DiPietro, billion-dollar hedge fund manager, he can tell you about work-life balance. It's really something you need to consider. And if you can get that in order up front, it will really save you a lot of anxiety and a lot of troubles. Okay? What else about Dr. Olbrich's talk? Yes, Caleb?
I liked how he talked about how connected he was to each of the patients he had and how much he meant to them and how much they meant to him.
How connected he was to the patients. Very cool. Dr. Olbrich obviously took a lot of pride and responsibility in getting connected with his patients. Sometimes it's like your teachers and your educators too. They take an awful lot of pride in you, and they really love the connection with their students. So another analogy, another career path. What else? Anything else? Yes.
I enjoyed hearing how he was talking about how there is no like single way to get where you want to be. Everybody has like their own path.
Yes. Cool. So, you know, Mr. LaRocca, who's not here, is in engineering. When I was talking to him, and I said, well, you know, engineering, I said, boy, you know, they got to go on, they got to get their degree, maybe graduate. They go, what do they got to do? He goes, Tom, there's 50 different career paths in engineering. He opens up this website, and sure enough, it's the same with medical. And Dr. Marvin, who's heading up the medical program, and his wife Cindy, they're showing me 50, 60 different ways, you know, to pursue medical careers. And you don't all have to want to be brain surgeons or heart specialists, you know. And the way the medical industry is changing and going to change, the healthcare industry, there's going to be many more opportunities. I mean, what is it, is it nurse practitioners? Huge, absolutely huge field, nurse practitioners. I talked to Mr. Sipek, and I know a lot of doctors that we play golf with and stuff, and they're dying for qualified people in that office, and those nurse practitioners are really a great career path. What else? Take one or two more. Justine?
I like how he said, like, he stressed how important networking was, and he just like reiterated what his entire program is about. And, like, networking got him somewhere, and it just showed that it was important.
Network. Yeah. important. Justine's working at Glenmore, and she was a receptionist at the Spot. She's now working over on the hotel end. And so, have you been doing some networking over at
A lot of
Glenmore?
networking.
A lot of networking. So, she's doing a lot of networking.
I had people tell me that if I don't stay at Glenmore, just to call them, and I have their numbers, so.
You have their numbers, so now you have Rolodex full of contacts. And Rolodex, yeah, that's true. Nobody uses a Rolodex anymore. Okay, one more. Anybody else? No?
I like the part where he wasn't just a doctor seeing patients. He was involved in a lot of committees, a lot of groups. He was kind of like what all the students work on, just not going to school each
Yeah.
day, but whether it's playing sports, being part of groups at school, and and that's really what I think. It wasn't just what he could do with patients. It was, he was helping the Cleveland Clinic go to another level by being part of different types of groups. I think that's constant throughout your whole life, not just.
Yeah. Yeah, the contributions that you want to make, and hopefully right now you're focused on school. Hopefully you're focused on this program, which we think is pretty important. Then we'll get you focused on a career path, but you'll have a time when you want something more, and what Dr. Olbrich does, what members of our operating committee are doing, what Officer Eckerman is about to do, what Mr. Bruner, what a lot of your teachers do, is all over and above. This is all over the top, and this is because they want to do it and they have it here. So make sure you don't shortchange yourself and find something your heart wants to do too, and make sure you give back. It's important. Okay, thanks. With that, I'm going to have Mr. Sipek come and introduce our distinguished speaker.
Thank you, Tom. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
I met Officer Eckerman, I think it's 2 years ago, and I walked into church on a Saturday evening, saw my pastor talking to a police officer. I said, oh, this could be an interesting sermon today. And because you don't usually see a police officer at church. And it was probably, because I still do. I have 4 children, but at the time, I know they're involved in Facebook, and they're good kids. I mean, everybody's going to say that about their children, hopefully. But I had 2 in college at the time, and 2 in grad school at the time. And, I'm not on Facebook, and that's probably number 1. I hate being on the computer. Number 2, I think it's a good thing too, in a way, but I know all of you are. And Mrs. Sipek, who many of you know, is obviously, it's a great way of communication. It's also a great way to get in trouble if you don't watch yourself. And I listened to the officer that day at church, and it was just story after story and examples, and I'm saying to myself, wow, this would be great. I really wish that, and she had the good fortune of talking to probably 2,000-3,000 people that weekend, but I said her message needs to constantly get out to students to really help them. When we started camp, Tom and I were with a bunch of operating committee members saying, hey, how do we kick this off or whatever, and hopefully we tried to do this last year, but because of scheduling conflicts, it couldn't happen, but we kept in touch with Officer Eckerman, and she said, Mr. Venturella, Mr. Sarek, glad to come back. And she's really giving up her time, her day, to kind of step out and be with us. In her presentation, we kind of tried to do it, Mr. Venturella and myself, and to be honest with you, I think I stumbled a little bit on that one. And I think her message, it just is much more powerful. And, you can see, even in the short period of time that I've had the great pleasure of knowing her, she's already done a few, she's on to different things already. She's got great experience in the Jackson Township Police Department. And you all have a copy of her bio. I just point out she's in charge of the evidence room. She's also assigned to Patrol Division. She processes evidence, court runs, lab runs, logging all incoming, outgoing property and evidence, destruction orders, transfer orders. And at the time when I first met her, I think you were in charge of I don't know what that
I'm
division.
in the detective bureau, I did all of our internet crime
Internet
cases
crimes,
and
yeah, I'm
child
sorry,
pornography
yeah.
cases.
So I mean, I know you'll be fascinated by our presentation today because and kind of caught, it showed me, I mean, I thought I knew stuff, but when she went through that, I didn't realize the intricacies and how careful you have to be. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ms. Rickman. Thank
I
you.
just want to thank you guys for having me. I mean, I think this is a great program. I think it's great that you guys have taken a Sunday out of your time to be here. A lot of my presentation, I don't really do this much more. I'm on patrol now. I try to change it a little bit because I normally present to parents, teachers. I've given this presentation to middle school. I've given it to seniors. I've given it to numerous different people. So I tried to make it more for your age group. So if there are some things in there that are younger kids, just, I know that a lot of you guys probably have siblings, so you can still take something from it back home. I just also wanted to touch base when they were talking about the job and juggling the job and your home life. If any of you are thinking about getting in law enforcement, I mean, that's a huge, you gotta take that into consideration. You have to work Christmas, you have to work weekends. A lot of times when you start, you're on noons, so you don't get to see your family that much. So, if you guys are interested in that, I'm more than happy to stay and talk to you guys later to get you guys some more information, but that is one thing that you wanna take into consideration if you're looking into that. I've been with Jackson for 8 years. Prior to that, I worked for the Stark County Sheriff's Office, and like he was saying, I was in the Detective Bureau for 4 years. There was some reconstruction going on over there, so they moved some people around and back on road, which I like just as much. These kind of cases can get to you after a while. I don't think that a lot of you realize, and it's not even just kids, it's not even teenagers, it's adults even, don't realize with social media what can happen with your life. I'm just gonna go ahead and jump right into it. You're gonna have to bear with me with this computer too. I'm used to having a remote. And I talk fast. So if I start getting too fast, raise your hand and yell at me. All right, the topics of discussion are gonna be on internet, online predators, sexting, cyberbullying. I have some other things in there too I added for you. I just think this slide's funny. I always add it for my oh, you can't see the whole thing. All right, it just says, hi, you sound real cute. How old are you? And what do you like doing after school? And he says, I am 14 and a bit of a fitness fanatic. I often go powerlifting after school. This is so true. I did this for so long where I would be in the Detective Bureau talking like I was. I'm sure you guys have all seen Dateline and To Catch a Predator. I did that. And every single one that I talked to, every single guy or girl, I mean, there was both online, it was never who they said they were. I mean, I had the advantage of, doing subpoenas, finding out their IP address to see who it really was. It was never who they said they were. So you guys gotta be really careful when you're going on there talking. You don't know who you're talking to. I think this police chief said it good. He says, it's like going to a big empty field and putting a big plate of ice cream on a blanket, walking away for an hour, coming back and finding out how many ants and flies are there. That's what it's like. It's almost unbelievable how many people are out there every day searching in chat rooms for children. I would have so many people trying to talk to me, so many of these types of people talking to me, that I would have to literally delete. I mean, I would have up to 20 at a time within a 10-minute period. It's like fishing in a bucket. So who are you really chatting with online? He says he's 16, or she says she's 16. Is he really 36, 46, 56?
Meeting a teen girl online is actually pretty easy. You can go into any chat room and just start talking. Most of the girls are usually so insecure and desperate for
Attention from older guys is totally flattering. They're so much more mature and understanding than the guys my age.
Age actually works to my advantage. They like to brag to their friends that they're dating an older guy, so I just play along and pretend I'm really interested.
Interested in the same things I am. You can talk forever and really get to know someone without worrying about looks or whatever. That's the best thing about
Chatting seems unthreatening to them, so they lower their guard. After a while, I start talking about how we're soulmates and how lucky we are to have found each other.
Other people don't understand. I know what I'm doing. If you really care about each other, there's nothing wrong with me.
Meeting them is the goal. Once I get them out of their house, well, that's when things get really interesting.
Online predators know what they're doing. Do you?
I'm a member of ICAC, it's Internet Crimes Against Children. So I work a lot with Homeland Security, FBI, Secret Service. I work with all different agencies. You would be surprised how many cases we have, like all over the United States, with predators in Stark County and vice versa victims. And I mean, I've had victims as young as 10 years old. So, I mean, this is, this isn't just something you see on TV, this actually happens. So who are these predators that are out there? Currently, there are close to 750,000 registered sex offenders in the United States. 90% are Caucasian who had relatively stable incomes and employed at the time of their arrest. 60% live in the suburbs, live in your areas. 35% are married. 80% are convicted sex offenders, and they have access to a computer. I mean, just because they get out of jail, I mean, we all have access to technology. So what's happening now? Unfortunately, these types of cases happen on a daily basis. These are just a few of them that I found to share with you. I went to a training class, and everybody always says it's never going to happen to me, it's not my kid, it's not going to. Every single presentation I would give, whether it was 50 parents, 100 parents, students, I would always have somebody raise their hand and say, well, my kid's a good kid, they wouldn't do this. Every single time, a month later, I would have that parent in my office with a situation that happened with their student or their child, every single time. So I think sometimes, people just think because they are a good kid, they're in sports, they get good grades, it's not going to happen. I had another case where I worked with FBI on, and I went through training, and they shared a story with us where the dad was a police officer. This was in California, and his daughter was online on Facebook talking to somebody who she thought was a 16-year-old from an area where she was in, a couple hours away. She had been talking to him for months. I mean, I'm talking 6-7 months. Well, he was getting all this information through her, what her dad did, and she thought she was just like, you guys talking to each other. Well, here it turned out, the guy was getting all this information, using a fake picture, was getting all this information to see when her dad worked, found out her parents were divorced, her brother was in college. They found her in the trunk of this guy's car with duct tape. She was dead, raped and killed. I just can't emphasize enough how you guys accept everybody. I mean, I just did it. I tried one time, I made a fake Facebook account, and I just wanted to see how many people would accept me that didn't even know me using a fake picture. 98% accept. You don't even know who you're talking to. 19-year-old male in Arizona is stopped on a routine traffic stop. He has a 15 and 16-year-old girl in the car, both of who he met on the internet. And the girls were there on their own accord. I mean, they just don't think anything's going to happen. 48-year-old Tennessee man is arrested for soliciting a 12-year-old girl online for sex. 22-year-old state trooper with the Colorado State Patrol tried to convince what he thought was a 14-year-old girl on the internet to have a sexual relationship with him. It could be police officer, fireman, teacher, it doesn't have to be the typical guy that you think's like in the shady van with the tinted windows. I mean, it can be the guy next door. Everett, age 33, was arrested for chatting online with who he thought was a 14-year-old girl he had met in a chat room. Everett allegedly engaged in a graphic sexual conversation with an undercover agent and propositioned the agent, who was posing as a 14-year-old girl, to meet him for sex. I put this in there because I think his booking photo is funny. World's greatest dad, yeah. Most of the guys that I had, cases I had, most of the guys were married, had children. 71% of you guys have established online profiles. How many of you guys have phones, cell phones? Do you guys have internet access on your phone? You have Facebook, Instagram, Twitter? I don't have Facebook either. I'm with you. I was on it for about a month, and it was horrible. I felt like I was back in high school all over again. I could not get over some of the things people were posting. We're 40 years old, and these people were acting like they were in middle school. It was insane to me. and the things that people were posting on there, I can't deal with that, and I'm gonna get into that with you guys later. 16% have created a private profile to hide what they're doing online from their parents. 32% of teens clear the browser history to hide what they're doing online from their parents. 11% have unlocked or disabled parenting filter controls. I know that you guys want your own privacy, and I get that, but you know if you're doing something wrong. You know if you don't want somebody to read it, then don't type it. Because that situation I was telling you guys about with the police officer and his daughter, he didn't know her password, he didn't know anything. Now had he had that information, they would have been able to find that guy a lot sooner than they did, and she might have lived. I mean, that's important. I know that you guys don't want your parents snooping at what you're doing, but you gotta think of the consequences. 52% of teens have given out personal information online to someone they don't know. 65% of high school students admit to unsafe, inappropriate, or illegal activities online. Okay, so how many of you guys have webcams? Or you guys do FaceTime? A lot of you guys do that? I mean, I think it's good. I mean, the thing is it's a double-edged sword. I mean, the internet can be so good for so many reasons, and I know a lot of people have relatives that live out of state. I think that that's great. I just am really against webcams in bedrooms. I don't think that there's really any need to have that in a bedroom. I think it causes nothing but problems. I always tell parents that I think that you should have it in a main area. I think that a lot of times you guys do things behind closed doors when you're in front of that phone or computer that you wouldn't do if people were watching you. I don't sugarcoat this presentation either, so if any of this offends somebody, I'm sorry. This never goes away. You can't delete this. When you guys are doing this stuff, it stays on there forever. I'm on the computer, doing my homework. What kids don't understand is the dangers that are associated with the internet. As parents, teachers, administrators, police officers, it's our responsibility to teach you guys what could happen when you do these things. And I know with this program, you guys are trying to get a career, and like I said, a lot of these things don't ever go away. I have so many parents come in and they want something done with the sexting and well, my daughter sent this picture to her boyfriend and it was only supposed to go to her him, and they've been together for a whole 6 months and they're gonna get married, right? Because when you guys date somebody for 3 months, it's like huge. Well, the thing is that I can't get it to go away. Secret Service we can delete it. It's never truly gone, ever. I have a girl that came in, and the poor girl now has graduated from high school, went through absolute hell, sent a picture to her boyfriend, it spread out throughout 3 schools. It's still out there. And that's with Secret Service, FBI, my department, and another department working to try to get it off. It never goes away. Now every time this girl applies for a job, if they pull that up, that's what they're gonna see. This girl, she was at a Catholic high school. She's a 6th grader. She made good grades. She was on the cheerleading squad, an altar girl. On the internet, she used provocative screen names and had sex with partners she would meet in chat rooms. These are the parents I would have that say my daughter would never do this. Her body was found on May 17th, 2002. She was strangled by a married restaurant worker she met on the internet. These are just some tips that I like to give people. And once you already know the person offline, you should always assume the person you are dealing with on the internet is not who they claim to be. Remember what I told you guys, every single person I talked to, every single one, there wasn't one that was who they claimed to be. Not one. And I mean, I'm talking hundreds. My case files were in boxes, so never one. Never give out your personal information like last name, address, phone numbers, schools. A lot of times you guys post selfies and different things with your school name on it, and you guys have accepted all these friends on Facebook where you have 5,000 friends, and really to even know who these people are. Never arranged to meet somebody, obviously. If an online friend asks sexually suggestive questions, you need to just ignore them, back off. If it persists, tell an adult. Set your profile on private. And again, like I was telling you, your parents should really know your internet history or how to at least know your password. Even if you guys kind of sit down with them and just say, you know, you guys seem like good kids. Look, I mean, I don't really want you snooping in my business, but if you have it somewhere and like they can even seal it in an envelope, if something would happen to you guys, I mean, that's huge for law enforcement, for us to be able to get into your computer. It's huge. Don't post anything online or on your phone that you'll later be ashamed and embarrassed by. Sexting has become a huge problem. We have people in and out of that department weekly about this. What is sexting? Sexting is when someone sends sexual images, photos, or videos electronically using cell phones. About 20% of teens engage in this dangerous game. I kind of, like I said, since I'm on patrol now, I'm not in the detective bureau anymore, so I try to tweak this a little bit to try to update it as much as I could. In 2014, 40% of all teenagers have posted or sent sexually suggestive messages. It's already gone up 20% since I did this 2 years ago. 51% of teen girls cite pressure from guys as a reason to send the message. 20% of all teens have sent or posted nude or semi-nude pics. 48% of teens feel adults are overreacting when sexual message or pictures are sent to each other. And this is what I was trying to explain to you guys. When you send it to one person and you think it's just for that one person, it could go in a matter of seconds to, you know, your best friend, your mom, your teacher. Sexting, and a lot of you guys don't know this, is currently illegal under federal law. It falls under the creation, distribution, and possession of child pornography. It's a felony. So if you guys get caught sending those pictures, if a girl sends one or a guy sends one, you're creating child pornography, that's a felony. If you forward that, you're distributing it. I mean, our prosecutors are so fed up with this that they are prosecuting people now. They're done with it. It's just creating so many problems. This is Jesse Logan. When I was putting this presentation together, I just think that this is a great story to have in here for you guys to hear. I don't think that you realize what it can do to somebody's life.
A very, very serious subject, though. We want to begin this half hour with a beautiful teenager from Ohio and the spur-of-the-moment decision that haunted her until the end. We're going to talk to her grieving mother in just a couple of minutes. But first, here's NBC's Kevin Tibbles.
She was young, pretty, a perfectly normal student, and seemingly had the world by the tail until Jesse Logan made one awful mistake. Her mother, Cynthia.
She snapped. It was just too much for an 18-year-old girl to go through.
A year ago, using her cell phone, she took a nude photo of herself and sent it to her boyfriend. It's a new practice among teens that's come to be known as sexting. But when they broke up, she was betrayed, and that compromising photo was forwarded to the cell phones of hundreds of other teens. Jessie became the focus of ridicule and abuse.
She was being attacked and tortured, actually, by people. Things were being thrown at her.
Humiliated and frightened, last May, Jessie warned of the dangers of sexting by giving an interview in silhouette with her voice altered to NBC affiliate WLWT in Cincinnati.
I still get harassed and stuff, and I'm sorry.
Her friends say Jessie started to spiral downward.
When she would come to school, she would always hear like people calling her, "Oh, that's the girl who's in the picture. She's just a whore. She wants attention."
Still, in spite of the ongoing harassment, Jessie graduated and was looking forward to getting on with her life. Then, last July, she attended the funeral of a teen who had committed suicide, which may have put her in the wrong state of mind. Jessie returned home and did the same thing.
And I scanned the room, and her closet doors were open. And I walked over into her room and saw her hanging. Her cell phone was in the middle of the floor. You just never think that a
a person like Jesse would even think about doing something like that.
Numerous cases of sexting have been reported around the country. The problem, doctors say, teenagers are often unable to recognize long-term consequences.
In the moment, it's to a teenager just fine. It's when it goes to the whole school or to the employer or to the college admissions office. That's when the trouble, and that's what they're not thinking about.
It is something that haunted Jesse Logan.
I just want to make sure that no one else will ever have to go through this again.
A young girl's mistake, a lifetime of anguish for those she left behind. For today, Kevin Tibbles, NBC News, Chicago.
Cynthia Logan is Jesse Logan's mother. Perry Aftab is an internet safety expert. Ladies, good morning to both of you, and Cynthia, our deepest condolences. I'm
Thank
sorry.
you.
How are you coping with this? It's been about 8 months.
Very difficult. It's still difficult. She's my only child. And I'm trying my best to get the message out there. We've tried to go through the law. We had 6 attorneys that said that they couldn't help us. The school in the very beginning, when my daughter went to school and went to the officer, all he said was that he would go to the other school that was the picture was disseminated from,
right.
Speak to that 16-year-old and have her remove the picture and never speak to my daughter again.
I know you were aware that Jessie was being harassed at school. She
Yes.
was starting to skip school. Were you aware of the magnitude of it, do you think?
No, I only had snapshots, bits and pieces. Until the very last semester of school, I was getting letters from the school every single day that she was truant or she was skipping school.
And when you talked to her about it, what she said?
That they were harassing her, and I gave her an option of doing school at home through the internet. And she said no, she wanted to continue to do this. But I said, Jessica, you know, we really need to talk to the parents. She said, no, I need to do something else. I'm going to go on the news, and that's what she did.
She felt that if you talked to the parents, it would open her up to even more ridicule because they would tell them.
She was really afraid of these kids.
As a parent, Cynthia, what gets me here is that prior to this mistake, this sexting episode, this is a normal young girl. This is not a girl with violent mood swings.
She was vivacious, she was fun, she was artistic, she was compassionate, she was a good kid.
And she had no idea that this pushing the send button
to the guy she was dating
could ever spiral into this.
Absolutely not.
All right, no laws? Are there
There are laws, Matt, here, and when we talked about her being a good kid, a normal kid, those are most of the ones that are sending out these images. 44% of the boys said that they've seen sexual images of girls in their school, and about 15% of them are disseminating those pictures when they break up with the girls.
But when they do that, when they disseminate those images, if they are nude images, is there no law that covers that?
There absolutely is a law. It depends on the age of the child. If somebody's under the age of 18, it's child pornography, and even the girl who posts the pictures can be charged. And they could be registered sex offenders at the end of all of this. Even at 18, because it was sent to somebody underage, it's disseminating pornography to a minor. There are criminal charges that can be made here.
What I don't understand is if she sent it to this boy, it was between the two of them, okay? It went through a school system. Why aren't the schools held responsible? They can send me truancy letters in the parents' names. They can call me and tell me that she skipped school, but they will not send me a letter saying that there was a sex photo being
Well, now schools are being
disseminated.
held liable when they're not taking action in the case of real-life bullying and some cyberbullying. The question is jurisdiction, and once we start talking, at the end of the show, I hope that we're going to be working together, and I'm going to get her involved in a huge campaign to allow kids to understand consequences of this and allow schools to understand what they need to do to keep our kids alive.
Is that, Cynthia, is that why you're talking now? Because you haven't spoken really much about this in the last statement. Is that what you'd like to see happen?
Absolutely.
Some sort of change of rules?
Absolutely. The officer, as a matter of fact, called the local newscaster last night and told her that he gave my daughter the option of prosecuting. That wasn't so. Absolutely not true. And if he did, why didn't I get a notice in the mail that he gave her that option?
I think parents who are watching this are probably going to be grabbing those cell phones and checking the computer a third and fourth time just to make sure that some lesson is learned from this.
And if you don't ask, they won't tell.
I think it's brave to come out and talk about it.
Absolutely.
Cynthia, thank you very much. We
Thank
appreciate
you.
it. Again, our condolences.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
Thank you,
It was
Matt.
good to see you.
I can tell you that Jackson Township, we do prosecute. Unfortunately, when we have a person come in that the same situation, they're gonna get charged too. So that's how we do it now. If you come in, I've had parents come in with their daughter and they're getting charged as well. So, you know, it's a huge thing you guys have to think about before you hit send. Don't assume anything that you send or post is gonna remain private. There's no changing your mind in cyberspace. Anything you send or post will never go away. Don't give in to the pressure to do something that makes you uncomfortable. Consider the reaction, and nothing is anonymous. Cyberbullying, another huge problem we're seeing. It's any communication sent by instant message, email, game device that's meant to scare, humiliate, hurt, or manipulate another minor. In 1995, there was one hate-related website. In 2004, there was 4,700. I looked at the statistics. I didn't have time to add it. In 2014, that over double. It was 11,200, I think, hate crime or hate sites. So it just keep, you know, the problem's not going away. It's happening in chat rooms, email, phones, texting, Twitter, Instagram. What can happen if someone you know is a victim of cyberbullying? Megan Meyer, she's age 13, was a victim of online bullying. I'm not going to play this just for time issues that we have, but you guys can look it up at home. If you just type in her name, you would hear her story. The same exact thing. Basically, there was a site that was put up. People were making fun of her. Same thing happened. She ended up, you don't know what's going on in somebody's personal life. You know, I think a lot of times you have to sit back and, you know, maybe it's funny at the time when everybody else is doing it. This girl ended up committing suicide as well. You don't know what's going on in their lives. That's very hurtful to read something like that about yourself over and over and over again. You know, it's one thing, I know I swore I would never do this, but like, you know, when I was in school, I hated when parents and teachers did that. But no, when I was in school, we didn't have any of that. I mean, we wrote notes. Like, that was like the big thing, you know, you wrote a note to somebody. What's that playing? But, you know, now it's like you guys can send text messages and you guys can post these things, and the person goes home, it never goes away. They hear it at school, and then they go home, and then they have to look at it, and look at it, and look at it. All these people saying things about them. You gotta watch. Instagram, KIK Messenger, all these things are changes all the time. Just because someone is smiling doesn't make them happy. You gotta be able to read between the lines. This was something somebody posted. Garcia, 15, sobbing, put down her school bag and purposely fell backwards to her death at around 3:15 p.m. at a railroad station platform, which was packed with fellow high school students. Students circulated the video of her death on Instagram. Skip that one. Snapchat, this is another new one. It's not really even new now. An app that allows users to send text, pictures, and videos that will disappear in 10 seconds after they are opened by a recipient. Not true, by the way. Like, they don't go away. I know that you guys think they do, but we've had people that have found out ways they download it as soon as the thing comes through, and then same thing happens, it spreads. The recipient can capture the image or text by taking a screenshot of their phone. Now the message is captured and can easily be saved, shared via mass text, or uploaded to other social media sites such as Facebook or Instagram. Users have even figured out how to, like I said, download images and videos before the 10-second viewing period is over. Sure, the sender will receive a notification if the recipient took a screenshot or downloaded their message, but really what's that gonna do for you once you know somebody did it? Nothing. Except for panic. Twitter is a very popular instant message system that leads a person to send brief text messages up to 140 characters in length to a list of followers. You know, you guys, if you see something that isn't right, report it. I mean, you know what people are posting on there, and sometimes I think you're old enough and you guys are smart enough to read between the lines. Hours before heading to the party bus, Fernandez asked a friend over Twitter, are they checking on the bus? Another party teen tweeted, the amount of bottles on this limo is ridiculous, sick. Twitter accounts tell how the group of 65, many of whom were from a Queens Catholic high school, were getting ready for a night of partying. The girls in bright blue dresses were among who tweeted about getting sauced at a Sweet 16 party just hours before the tragedy struck on Friday night. Daniel Fernandez died on Friday evening after sticking his head out of a double-decker bus which went through an underpass. This is another one that was on Twitter. I finally got a gun. A popular high school student committed suicide after her cries for help to hundreds of online friends were ignored. I mean, I think all those tragedies could have been prevented. If one of you guys, or somebody that read that, you can't tell me that somebody didn't read that and think, that's not good, nothing good. I know you guys don't want to be the rat or the person that tells, but I mean, you could be saving somebody's life. Signs that your friend or anybody that you know might be a victim of cyberbullying: emotional upset, depression, sadness, anxiety, anger, or fear. This may increase after phone or internet use, avoidance of friends, schools, activities, decline in grades, subtle comments that reflect emotional distress. What to do? I mean, if this happens to you or anybody that you know, keep a record of it. For a law enforcement standpoint, it really helps for us, including dates and times, phone numbers. Tell somebody, make sure you let somebody know. Contact your phone or internet service. I personally just think, like I said, it's good to a certain extent, but I don't think that it's necessary to have all these accounts, you know, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, all those. If a message is threatening or serious, you need to contact the police. Don't reply to any bullying messages. The situation it just gets worse. Change your contact details anytime you have a problem like this. I mean, my suggestion is to get off the internet. Get off of it for a while. Change your account. Don't give your email account or information to any of your friends. Keep username and password secret, except for your parents. Things that you can report. You can always report it to a cyber tip line as well. I mean, same with the police department. There's an anonymous tip line. So if you don't want to be the person that, told, I mean, there's always a way that you can do it without having to come forward with your name. Anyone who sends photos or videos containing obscene content, anyone speaking to you in a sexual or hateful manner, anyone who asks to meet in person. That's the tip line. Okay, I just added this to the end, because what kind of police officer would I be if I didn't talk to you guys about drugs for just a really quick 5-minute period? We've seen a huge increase in Jackson Township in heroin use, meth. It's become a huge problem with pills, prescription pills. I think a lot of times people don't think it's that big of a deal if they're taking a couple oxys or taking a couple Xanax. What's happening is it's leading to a huge addiction, and then they're going to heroin. It's cheaper and it's easier to get. I just want to show you guys what these drugs do. I mean, I wish I could put pictures on here of people I've actually encountered and I've dealt with over the last 9 years. If you look at the first photo from 1979, look at her 10 years later. That's just 120 months of meth use. It's the same girl. Same with this one. This is the same girl. Age 18 at the top, she's 22 at the bottom. She gradually, you can see she started cocaine, you know, I'm assuming with the paraphernalia, it was probably pot. It just gradually progresses, but that's exactly how it is. They move up. They start with pot, they start with drinking, they go to pot, they go to pills, they go to heroin, it's just how it is. Look at this guy. Okay, age 23. Look at him down there. Look at him at 25. You know what happens with heroin and meth? It'll chew away your skin. It'll chew away your gums. It rots your teeth out. It's very, very, very harmful. So when taking the pill wasn't that big of a deal, this is what it turns into. Age 29, and then there's her right next to it at age 31. Some of them, that one didn't have her age there, but I mean, these are all in a matter of like a year, 2, 3 years. A lot of these people, at least the ones I encounter, they were good kids, graduated from high school, in college, life completely falls apart. That's age 21, there she's at 29. They lose their job, they lose their family, they lose everything. That's just in 2.5 years of meth, what it did to her. Isn't she attractive in 2010? This is a heroin and cocaine user. Looks like a normal girl. That's pretty much it. I just wanted to add the little drug thing to the end of it, just because we've seen such an increase in it. Do you guys have any questions or anything for me? No?
I actually know of a case that happened at our school.
With the sexting or internet?
Yeah, there was actually a teacher
Really?
that was talking to one of the students, and she didn't even know.
Yeah, see, I mean, it can happen with, like, that's why I was telling you guys in the beginning, it can be a law enforcement, it can be a teacher. I actually worked the Jackson case with the basketball coach. I worked that case. Actually, how that started was when I was working with Homeland Security, and we were doing a big raid. They were doing it all over the United States, a big raid on child pornography. And so when we were going in there with the search warrant, we were going in there with the intent, looking for something that had to do with that child pornography ring. It had nothing to do with what we found. You know, when we got there and we found that, I mean, I knew right away it was Jackson School, and then it just, you saw what happened with that. So yeah, you never know. I mean, you just don't know who you're dealing with. You guys just gotta be careful, and I think this is a great camp that they put together for you guys, and it gives you guys huge opportunities, and I would just hate to see you guys mess it up. I know I've done a lot of our background investigations for hiring, and one of the first things we look up your Facebook account, we look up everything that we can find on social media on you guys. So that is a huge, if it's between two, it's competitive. This is a competitive field just like any of these fields, like they were saying are. If we pull, you know, these three up and they all want the same job, and you know, his is perfect, his Facebook is perfect. These two have kind of, you know, they're drinking, oh my God, was out partying. I know it's fun to take pictures with your friends and do all that, but we're looking at it. I mean, we're watching it. So yeah, I mean, they don't want somebody working for the department that's doing these things outside, and it's no different with any other job or college, you know, application when you guys are filling those out. It's competitive. You gotta watch what you guys are putting on there and doing. Anything else?
Okay, if you're not doing it, but there are people that are your friends that are doing those type things, does that hurt you as well?
I go back and forth with this one because my theory on this is you are who you hang out with. You know, if you're hanging out with these people that you know, I just had a case the other day. I arrested a girl and she was with, you know, it wasn't her purse. None of it was hers. It wasn't hers. It was her friends. The heroin needles weren't hers. Okay, but then once we start getting into the purse, well, the phone might be hers. The lipstick's hers, but the heroin needles aren't hers. You know, you can't hang out with these people and not expect to get the same reputation. So if your friends are doing these type of things, I would suggest that I mean, hey, do you really want to hang out with somebody like that? I would tell them, like, it's probably not a good idea you're posting that on there. You know, I mean, it just makes you look really bad. Is that how you want to look? You guys are getting to an age now where you have to start thinking about your future. And, you know, these type of things, if your friends are posting those ridiculous things on there and you're hanging out with them, from a teacher or a law enforcement, if I pull somebody over, then, you know, you have a rap sheet this long and you're completely clean, I don't know that. I mean, in my eyes, I'm thinking, you're just as bad as he is. You know, you gotta think of that. You know, I'm not saying that you need to like completely not have any friends that are doing this, but I would just kind of watch. I would probably talk to them. If they're your true friends, I mean, they would want to hear that. I think that they would want you to say that. You know, I watched this presentation. I mean, do you know that that's a felony? Could get in serious trouble for that. Doesn't just go away. So.
Then if you receive a text of someone getting beat up at school or whatever, if you forward that,
you could be in trouble.
Okay. Thank you for saying that.
Yeah.
My sister wants to be a police officer. She was just saying that she would just go to the police academy, but I kept trying to like stress to her that the military, not the military, I'm sorry, that going to college would get her like higher up, because I know it does in the military. Is that the same thing?
Same thing. Yeah. It's just like with any profession. I mean, you know, there's so many different things that you can do in law enforcement. I mean, it's not just you go through the police academy and you're thrown in a car, you can work the road. I mean, there's so many different things. You can move up to the detective bureau. You can move up. I do a lot of our internet where we investigate crime scenes. So I process our crime scenes. I had to go through additional training for that. I would suggest that she goes to school if she wants to move up. They take that into consideration. If she wants to go to like into the FBI or drug enforcement, she would definitely want to go through criminal justice. You know, I mean, hey, I've worked with guys there's guys that have been there for 25, 28 years, and they love being on the road. That's their thing. They don't, you know, they went in the detective bureau for a year or 2 years, and they just don't want to. That's their thing. They want to work the road. So really all what she wants to do. You know, I mean, does she want to be a road officer? Does she want to be crime scene investigator? What does she want to do?
Okay, like there's like kind of this thing on Instagram, like exposing pages, but the people that like follow these pages and like shout them out, like try to get other people to follow them, would they get in trouble too?
It all depends. And see, you know, I can't really speak for Canton PD. I can't speak for Massillon. I can't speak for those departments. I can just tell you what our department does. I mean, they take it very seriously. We have a school resource officer in the high school. We have 2 in the middle school. You know, anytime we have a situation like that, they're all brought in. You know, it's not like yeah, some of them might get a slap on the wrist, but it depends on what the topic is. You know, if we've had ones where, and I don't know if your school's had them, probably, because I think they've been all over, you know, the sexy Jackson girl, and then, you know, they have all these girls listed that, yeah, she's hot, she's not list. And, you know, it's caused huge, huge problems. All those kids that were reporting it got called in. You know, I mean, if you're playing sports, if you're on, you know, if you're playing football, you're on the volleyball team, I heard you say, you know, coaches look at that. I mean, that just causes problems. So, yeah, they can, it depends on what they're posting. You know, if it's threatening or what really was involved in the text or in the Instagram message.
Is it important that they know if there's any sexual predators living in their neighborhoods and vicinity? Or
Yeah, you can go online. You can just go on the Stark website and, you know, and look to see. I mean, most of them have to report to there. It just depends on what tier they are, whether they have to register or not. In my experience, it seems like most of the ones that I've dealt with have never been in trouble before. So that's what makes it scary to me. I would say like 85% of my arrests, the person had never been in trouble. So You know, it might help him to a certain extent, it might not, because really, you know, just like the Jackson, we never had issues with him. So.
I think it is very important for people to know, like other registered sex offenders next to them, because it was this my neighbor, he was a sex offender. We didn't know. He's fresh out of jail, just moved there, and he was like really creepy. He was like, I remember he came to my house at like 12 o'clock at night and was like, "Can I use your phone book so I can call AEP? Like, aren't they closed?" So we gave him the phone book, and my stepdad wasn't home, so then he's looking inside, like,
yeah,
who's home? Like, well, my mom, and of course I said my stepdad because he was just creepy.
Right.
And we didn't know until like 2 weeks ago he just went to jail because he raped a woman and like beat her unconscious.
Yeah.
So we didn't.
See, I mean, you just never know who you're dealing with, and you know, in that situation, I mean, think about it. If you accepted him as a friend on Facebook, you know, he could have been acting like somebody else, and he might have known that you weren't telling the truth, because he might have already known through your little post. Right. You know, and it's like I said, adults do this too. I mean, you have no idea how many adults we have. You know, I don't understand, like my house got robbed, and you know, I posted on Facebook like so excited to go to Hawaii, be gone for 3 weeks. It's like, you know, what are you doing? I mean, of course they knew you weren't home. I mean, we get adults all the time that come in. With the scams on Craigslist, and you know, I mailed them this check for $1,500, but it seemed legit. So I mean, I'm not just like targeting you guys because of your age. I just want you guys to succeed, and I want you guys to have, you know, a good career, and I don't want anything like this to hinder that. That's it.
Very much. Very, very impactful. It just proves that Mr. Seibert and I did a disservice to that presentation last year. We tried to wing it, and Mrs. Myers tried to help us out. But we couldn't salvage it. This was a terrific presentation. It's scary. And it's probably meant to be that way. And you should take it very, very seriously. And this whole social media has ruined many, many lives, many, many careers. Lives first, careers second. I know in my corporate world that I was in, we would catch people constantly on company equipment and doing these things, and zero tolerance, immediately terminated, turned into the police, and you know, married people with 3, 4 kids. I mean, just disasters, absolutely disasters. So I'm glad yes.
Can I make a comment about that?
Sure.
I mean, and let's get away from everything about the bad stuff we talked about today and this stuff. But I run a business, and I know there's a couple guys here. You know what the number one thing I have a problem with production? I have 42 people that work in my corporate office. And the biggest issue I have is the amount of time they spend not working. But they're on the internet, sending emails, looking at other sites, and all of it's clean. I'm saying even if they're going to ESPN and they're going to, you know, shopping and stuff like that. To the point that I'm like, why are our computers running slow today? And it's people streaming music in. I mean, come on. Yeah. I mean, you're here to work for 8, 9 hours a day. You got a darn good job, and I'm like, this. I call it an addiction, that they can't get away from this kind of stuff to really do work. And I'm not the only one, I'm sure, that is involved in business. Maybe Ms. Myers can talk about her experience and Mr. Slifer here, but it's like, you know, we had to get rid of 2 people in the last 15 months. Good employees when they were doing work.
Yeah.
Good employees when they were doing work. But 2 hours a day, what we found is they were not working. And none of them were in any bad places. But I mean, I can't have people doing their Christmas shopping all day when they're supposed to be doing work, you know?
Well, like Mr. Sipek just said, it's interesting because we just got a memo. I work at Smucker's out in Orville, loaded with great people. they just sent a memo out that they are blocking access to Netflix and Pandora. And I'm thinking, really? We got people at work that we're paying good money and they're at Netflix and Pandora? Wow, that's craziness. So, you know, we're trying to take the approach of keeping people from doing, wasting time and getting out, but who's got time at work to sit there and watch movies and just do nothing but listen to music?
These are excellent examples. I was at a company called Church and Dwight out of Princeton, New Jersey, and we had a head of finance in the marketing, sales and marketing department, and they hired a man, 3-4 kids, and I would say the job started at about $150,000 base plus bonus plus. And after 6 months, they couldn't figure out why he wasn't getting it. He was online 6 hours a day while he was in the office trading futures. And now for Mr. DiPietro, who did that for a living and managed $1 billion hedge fund, that's fine. But for the finance manager of a consumer products company, not good. And I know other people that we fired in Kraft that were doing real estate. They were, in real estate, they either owned and were renting, and they were doing a lot of real estate housekeeping. We had to fire them, so it can really be abused. It is great. I mean, if you think about, when I was there, you had to wait for a FedEx in the mail, or a fax was a big deal, and now, the amount of information that you can get instantaneously is amazing. So there are a lot of benefits, but you really have to watch out. And it's no surprise that when we polled your parents and guardians and your teachers last year, the #1 issue was social media. And it's no surprise that a statistic that just came out with college students, freshmen and sophomores, they're finding that freshmen and sophomores are spending upwards of 13 hours a day on social media. And it's impacting their grades, and it's going to have a tremendous effect on them. So take this all in context. I guess, officer, from your perspective, if they know something's wrong, if they get them, somebody tries to contact them, or they smell something's bad, where should they go first? Where's the first place they should go?
I mean, I would definitely just tell your parents first, and depending on what the situation is. I mean, if you're being bullied, or if you're seeing somebody being bullied online, you definitely have to tell a parent or a teacher. I mean, if it comes to the point where law enforcement would be involved, would be if it's threatening, any type of threat, that you would definitely want to contact us. If you saw something like the things that I showed you with the Twitter, if you saw something like that, I mean, you have to tell, your parents, who would then tell law enforcement, or you guys could come together, or the anonymous tip line. I mean, those things, those are big, and I know that it goes on. We know it goes on. I mean, same thing. We just got a letter. All of us, all the police officers, we had to sign off. Same thing was happening. I mean, they check I don't have one, but a lot of those guys have Facebook. They watch them all the time. People were getting written up for things they were posting on there. I mean, it's it's monitored. Same thing, we're adults, and I mean, it's a weekend, we're having fun. They just don't think. They don't think to post that, but it just makes it makes you look bad. It doesn't make you look good as a person. So yeah, if you come across anything like that, definitely tell your parents. If it's something that would be any type of criminal thing, you would want to contact law enforcement, even if it was anonymously.
Okay, thank you very much. We appreciate you taking the time on a Sunday, and hopefully, Officer Ackerman was saying, even if 1 or 2 of you get it, it's well worth her time and effort. I agree, but I want you all to get it. Believe me, we want you all to get it. So as if that wasn't enough, Mrs. Myers is going to come up. And Mrs. Myers spent 20 plus years, I believe, right, in human resources. And I have to tell you, in the corporate world, and it changed. When I was in the corporate world 40 years ago, sales and marketing really ran the companies. Today, you know what runs the companies? Human resources and finance. Those two run the company. It's money, and then their most expensive resource, which is people. And so I want you to hear Mrs. Myers and what she has to say about if you can get through what Officer Ackerman is talking about in your adolescent years, and then you get with us to the career path, I want you to hear some of the things that can happen to you in the corporate world.
Do you know my presentation?
Oh, Mark, do we know where Mrs. Myers' presentation is? Was it on a stick? It was on a stick, right? Huh? Yeah.
That's it? That computer's slow. Okay, it's on this stuff.
I thought there was this, I thought she had a memory center.
Yeah, it's on this computer.
Oh, it is?
It's not on the screen. Yeah, well, I'll just start out and say there's thousands and thousands of examples of, in the workplace, inappropriate usage of the internet. Unfortunately, every month I would get an email from the Chief Technical Officer with inappropriate activity on the internet. And it was my responsibility to do something about it. And you know, unfortunately, you would have to terminate good employees because of inappropriate usage on the internet. I mean, we'd have managers and supervisors. I mean, there's just thousands of examples, but it happens. You don't want to be one of them. You don't want to go home and tell your parents and your wife and your spouse that you lost your job because of some really inappropriate activity that you were doing. That's not where you want to be. And it happens all the time. And, you know, just bad decision making. And there's always consequences to that. So just when you're using, you know, it's all about common sense. You know what's appropriate, what's inappropriate. You know, if your mom and dad were watching, would you do it? That's kind of the baseline that we use in business. Is, you know, I mean, is it appropriate or inappropriate? And somebody's going to have to judge that, and that's usually about how they judge it. You know, would you do that in front of your you know, spouse or your parents? So, with that being said, recruiters, when you're recruiting, I spent a lot of time recruiting, and that's one of the fun things that you get to do in HR, because there's a lot of things that are not fun. But that's one of the fun things is recruiting, and you come down to candidates that have all the same qualifications, and you select your candidates, and then you're going to go on the internet and you're going to research what kind of activity is posted about that candidate. I mean, is what you're posted, you're even looking for grammar. I mean, is it intelligent information they're posting, or are they using grammar very inappropriately? Those are some of the things that you're going to look at. You know, 91% of recruiters use social media to screen candidates. You know, it's not very many people that don't use social media and check those kinds of things out when they're hiring. Hiring is very expensive. Hiring a new employee is one of the biggest expenses that there are in business, because you know, we have to train you, and it's expensive to get rid of you once you're in a company if you're not doing your job well. So we want to get all the information possible. And so what are we looking for? You know, any kind of inappropriate photos or comments that the candidate is making. You know, everybody likes to go and have a good time and, you know, go to parties. But do you need to post it?
You know, is it something that, you know, what's the reward benefit there? If, you know, you went to a party and you were out drinking, okay, that's something that you do. Do you need to post it on the internet? Do you need to tell all your friends about it? Those are the kinds of things that you're gonna wanna start thinking about, because they do take a look at those things. And so what's the reward and what's the benefit of posting those types of things on the internet? You know, negative comments about other employers, or talking about or talking about their previous employer and giving up competitive information. That's very costly to companies. Those are kind of the things that you're looking at when you're doing a background check on a candidate. Any discriminating remarks. You don't want to hire somebody that, you know, feels that way about whatever they're talking about. So I would never put anything discriminatory on the internet. You find out about lying about, you know, what their qualifications are sometimes on the internet. And then, you know, sharing confidential type of information on the internet. Those are things that you just don't want to do. So, and also being tagged in pictures, you're going to want to take, you know, be careful on what you're tagged in those photos. I mean, I think, who's the famous swimmer, Phelps, Michael Phelps?
Michael Phelps.
Yeah, Michael Phelps. He lost a lot of money because somebody tagged him in a picture, right? He lost a lot of endorsements because of the marijuana, you know, the smoking the bong on the internet. That wasn't, so that cost him a lot of money. So you want to be very, very careful when you're tagged in a photo on the internet, because like the officer said, those things don't go away. They're always out there and people can find them.